This episode of the Nerd Corporation podcast may contain spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, this is Manu Bennett, Deathstroke the Terminator, and you're listening to Nerd Corp Podcast.
Welcome to the Nerd Corporation.
What up, everybody? It's Thursday, and you know what that means.
No.
Well, I'll tell you. It's podcast day. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 2, Thursday AD. We're going to be talking about Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Woo!
Derek, that's your wheelhouse. Of you and Nick, you both are pretty big Mystery Science Theater fans.
I mean, Mystery Science Theater is one of the very few things that my father and I enjoy just, together as a common thing. I mean, we've got that and Star Trek, which I'm not even into all that much. So, I mean, like, this is the big thing. And of course, he also got me into Doctor Who. But, I mean, we would watch this together, and then, like, after we watched it, my siblings and I then started, like, just amongst us, we would just sit there and watch it, and it's always been with me,
I remember just randomly, when I was a kid, channel surfing, and I would come across it on the Sci-Fi Channel, because it was on TV, like, at one point, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I started watching it, and just as a kid, I was just laughing my ass off at just some of the things they were saying. And I was like, what is this? Is this a show? Is this a movie? Like, what am I watching?
Yeah. I just got into it last year because of you, Derek, and it's crazy. Just the jokes and things still hold up.
Oh yeah.
Like, even, like, the way older ones, like, the jokes are still...
I mean, for a good amount of it, you definitely do need a point of reference.
Yeah.
But, as long as you understand the references, even half the time, if you don't understand the references, you can get the gist of what they're going for and why it would be ridiculous.
Yeah. Cole, you haven't seen any...
No, I have not, no.
So, this is going to be an all-new
All new
territory.
world for me.
A whole new world.
Yes.
Don't you dare.
Well, let's get on with the nerd news.
I just, without looking anything up, I just mentioned this before we started the show, but Resident Evil 2 is coming out on the 25th, and we're getting I think it's called the one-shot demo.
Yes, one shot.
From the 11th, I think, up until release day, actually, and...
It's going to be so good.
You get to play the game for 30 minutes, I think. And if you beat the demo, you get a whole new trailer to watch.
Oh, dope.
Wow, that's cool.
I didn't
And
know
yeah, I was reading the
That's a pretty sweet.
stipulations of the
Incentive,
article,
yeah.
but yeah, and yeah, July 11th. January 11th is when it comes out, and at first I thought it was going to be, because they were in talks saying that it was like an Xbox exclusive, and I was like, those motherfuckers, like,
Yeah.
and all the comments on these threads that I was watching were like, oh, now Xbox has an exclusive. But
Sorry, Xbox.
and then I read later on that it was like Xbox, PC, PS4, and I was like, okay,
that. That would be
all
really
is well.
dumb.
It would be
That was
so
an
dumb.
Exclusive demo.
Yeah, but that's the one thing I'm hyped for right now.
The wrestling world lost an icon this last week in Mean Gene Okerlund.
Mm-hmm.
Mean Gene Okerlund, for those of you that don't know, is one of the most known announcers in all of wrestling history. Even him and Hulk Hogan were like a...
Well, and he was such a mainstay. Like, he was there for so long. I mean...
Yeah. He's been there since, like, the early 80s.
I mean, yeah, he was there when I started watching wrestling.
Same.
And, like, just for, 20, 30 years later.
Mhm.
Still.
He was the best at the interviews, too. Like,
yeah.
I remember when I started watching wrestling, and back when WCW, and they had the what was it, like the Monday Night War, when they were like fighting with each other. And I remember whenever Nitro was on, and they go, okay, let's go to Mean Gene in the locker room. I was like, yes, dude, yes, like.
He didn't
He's
take no
gonna-
shit. He
no,
was a little
he really
dude.
didn't.
Well, and he wasn't scared to, get up in the mix,
Yeah.
and take a few bumps. And,
Yeah.
Like that video that I think you posted to the page, Eddie, where it's like, all right, any other of you piss ants want to do some more impressions?
Shove it up your ass.
Shove it up your ass, O'Hare.
Yeah, he was such a fucking badass.
Well, and he
Yeah.
had such a unique voice and unique cadence. Like,
Yeah.
it was just, it was just fucking magic.
Yeah, you couldn't. You.
His
you
voice
knew.
was meant just for talking to people.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you knew who it was. You could close your eyes and hear Mean Gene talk and know that was him.
Mhm.
So, condolences to the Okerlund family, and rest in peace. You will forever live in our WWE network.
Yeah, true. I guess the only piece of nerd news that I have at the moment would be just what I was talking to you guys about prior to the podcast, being that, not that, of course, this is the end-all, be-all of anything, but early reviews of Glass are not good.
Right.
So, take that as you will. I mean, it's a bunch of people tweeting their feelings about it. So who knows how?
So that's
Valid.
quote unquote early reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Twitter.
Who knows how
Like,
valid? Yeah.
Well, and it's like I was saying earlier. You read one that was like, I've been a Shyamalan fan through and through from every movie. I've loved every movie, and this movie disappointed me. And I'm just like, well, you also liked The Happening,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna.
You're not a good gauge.
Yeah, I'm gonna take whatever you say
Yeah.
with a real big pinch of salt.
Yeah. Well, and like that comment that I read earlier when going through the article, someone said, well, yeah, but most of you hated Unbreakable too, which is a fair point because that was a great movie and a lot of people gave it shit.
Yeah, and I like that movie. I
I
Unbreakable.
love that movie. So it makes me slightly worried just because of how much anticipation I have for the movie, but it's definitely not enough to make me shy away.
The verdict on IGN reads, despite a strong cast and an interesting concept, Shyamalan never quite manages to pull together the two worlds of Unbreakable and Split into one cohesive film. Never sure whether it's a heroic superhero story or a psychological thriller, Glass feels more than a little scattered with its uneven and disappointing third act, ultimately unsatisfying 5.5.
5.5 in IGN is like a 7.5 everywhere else.
I think I'll be, no matter what, I feel like I'll be entertained.
Yeah.
Maybe not like coming out of it with a glowing review, but
I'm still gonna go watch it.
yeah.
It's like how we felt when we walked out of when we went to Venom. It's like,
Yeah.
It wasn't amazing, but I'm glad I went and saw it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the only problem that I have with this whole early review mentality that we got going on, is because I feel like a lot of people just hear shit like that and then they go into it with, this better be, really great, or else it's going to be, really bad. And it's like, well, no, someone told you it was really bad, so you just think it's really bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you're
So-
looking for all the stuff to nitpick.
Exactly. So I don't know.
And the other thing is that I think we talked about this either before or after Venom, but reviews for Venom, if I remember right, were not that great at all, and it broke records when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting another Venom movie.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I guess that's another piece of nerd news.
I did.
What was it? Aquaman. Pretty Much Geek. Page I follow on Facebook gave it like a scathing review.
Oh really?
Yeah, they gave it like a 4 or a 3 or something.
Really?
Yeah, apparently cause,
This wasn't what I wanted.
right,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what it was. The pacing was too convoluted or whatever, and like the trench, because the trench is a big story as far as Aquaman goes, and they like compacted the trench, into a small, time frame, but it wasn't that bad. So some people are just gonna hate things, and some people just aren't gonna.
I feel like a lot of people use those words, pacing and narrative, and it's like you don't really know what that means
Yeah.
at all.
You don't sound smart.
You don't know what that means. Shut
Well,
up.
and I mean, you can't go into a movie expecting the pace of a story to match the pace of a comic book series.
Right.
Like, and if that's what you're expecting, of course you're going to be all upset about it.
You're gonna have a bad
pushing
time.
up your glasses, going, "Oh, no, that's not right."
Yep.
That didn't happen in the comic.
Actually.
Actually,
The other one that I was going to mention is there's a lot of, like, I've been noticing a lot of things in the gaming world that are like, analysts predict this, but the one that I am ready for and that I hope is true is that they're saying that there could be, in 2020, another BioShock.
Oh.
And
That's big time. That's a big time game right
take
there.
my money and my house. Like, let's do this.
Yeah, dude. Yes, he loves those.
Yeah.
She loves the BioShock games.
I played through all of them at least like 3 or 4 times.
Same.
And
I just wonder what is a BioShock game? Because the guy that's behind those games is Ken Levine, and Ken Levine is a fucking mastermind. And so it makes me wonder, the only BioShock game that he hasn't made, that he was kind of there, but he wasn't like in charge, was BioShock 2.
mm-hmm.
So he, BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite are basically, just straight out of his mind onto a disc. And so I'm wondering what a BioShock game would look like with none of his involvement at all. That's why I'm kind of sketched out.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, because 1 and Infinite were my favorites. Like, 2 was great. It had kind of a slow start, but like the last, 3 hours of 2 are like edge of your seat, just like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's not beat around the bush. The original BioShock is like one of the very best games ever made.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
there is no denying that at all, and that twist is still like the reverberations from that shock is still felt today. Like, that game is masterful.
Mm-hmm.
by the way, like, just really quickly going back to Glass, one of the criticisms that people were lobbing at it was the fact that, it kind of has a halting, sort of like disjointed kind of feel to it, and I feel like they're a bit confused on what they were going to see.
Yeah.
Like, I think that a lot of people were like, I'm going to go see a superhero movie. And they were expecting to go into a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And that is
That's not.
what the fuck do you know who made that film? That's not,
ruined everything.
you're like, this is a totally different take on that kind of genre, and if that's not what you're looking for, don't fucking go see it. Because,
Right. Exactly. Like even watching it as a kid, like even watching it back then, like when it first came out, Unbreakable did. I remember being like, this is like the realest superhero movie ever. Like, this is like some crazy real shit.
Yeah, this is like if this were just like actual life.
Yeah. Like if there were superheroes living among us, that's how I would imagine they would be like unbreakable.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, what group of people would really go, hey, guys, let's wear all the same costumes and fight crime? Like, no, like, that's not...
What did you guys think of Watchmen?
I love the
Yeah.
Watchmen.
Really?
I love the Watchmen. I read the book too, though.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like I'm into like what was it, Watchmen 300?
Mm-hmm.
Just all the Frank Miller,
Yeah.
like so good.
So that's right. That is a Frank Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I recently
I
started
better turn mine
watching
Yeah, exactly, motherfucker.
The Tick on Amazon Prime,
Is it good?
and it's amazing.
And that's the
The
Warburton
not
one, right?
Patrick Warburton.
Oh, not
no, this is
Patrick?
a new one. Like,
Oh.
this was just recently made. I don't recognize anybody like in the show, like from anything else. But
And what's it on?
It's on Amazon Prime,
Okay.
like Prime Video. And that's also, by the way, where I found Hereditary and Jesus Christ.
Did you watch it all?
Oh my god.
This movie's fucking great, huh?
I started.
Like,
Huh.
fucked up. Like, but I finished it and I was like, this is the kind of like horror movie that I needed. Like,
Yeah.
because everything else has just been
It's so
Bush League.
It's so unsettling in everything that it does.
And
It's such a great
a movie that I needed because there have been countless horror movies that I've seen that have like made me go, oh god, but haven't really like
Yeah.
phased me. But
So-
that fucking movie, like,
So I went and watched that Bird Box movie the other day with a bunch of friends. And, well, I mean, we were all pretty toasted, and so I don't remember all of it, but I was like, yeah, this is kind of a cool movie. But I feel like I don't think my opinion would really go much higher or lower were I sober.
Yeah, it was.
Like-
See, Bird Box wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a great movie.
Yeah.
new Bird Box challenge. Watch Bird Box blindfolded.
Dude,
Just don't watch it at all.
fucking somebody posted something on Facebook, a friend of mine, and they were like, "You guys are seeing it all at face value. It's about mental illness
Oh my
and
God.
blah blah blah." No, it's a movie about a bitch who puts blindfolds on her children.
Everything can
Yeah.
be
And
about
tries
mental
to-
illness.
right?
Don't
Like,
look into it.
Calm down. Like, it's
What was
not
the-
further than what it is.
The other post I saw
Oh,
was,
now you're a philosophizer.
the other one I saw was, let's be real, Bird Box is a movie about real life Bogarts. I was like, yeah, haven't even seen it, but I kind of know the premise, and I have to agree.
That's great.
I started watching Bandersnatch.
Oh, did you?
I did watch it.
Because I have not even watched it yet, but I'm like super intrigued by it.
I started watching. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cool
Did you
concept.
choose to blow up the cowboy or send the spaceman into space?
I was
I
thinking,
didn't even get that option. What is that?
yeah, I didn't get.
Yo.
It's a joke. I feel bad for making the joke because of the actor that he was the kid from We're the Millers. And
Oh,
he's
yeah,
on
yeah,
Bandersnatch, and as soon as like that came out, people were just like, "It's Sid from Toy Story,"
Yeah, yeah.
and like
See,
it made him like get off of social media.
I
And-
wanted that guy to be the new Pennywise.
Yeah, me too.
I wanted him to be Pennywise so bad,
He would have been great
so bad.
anyway.
And he would be a great Joker too.
But it's cool because you're watching it, and I got to a point where the kid is like in front of his computer, and he's just like, "Who the fuck are you? I know somebody's there." Like, the movie's,
Give me a sign.
yeah, give me a sign, and it either gives you like this little symbol or it gives you the Netflix logo. And so I clicked on the Netflix logo, and it like his computer flips off, and he goes, "I'm watching you on Netflix." Yeah, and he's just
No
like,
way!
And he's just like, "What's Netflix?" He's like, "It's streaming on." Like, it's like trying to explain Netflix to him.
That is cool.
And then he goes to his like therapist or whatever, and he's just like, "Somebody's watching me on Netflix," and she's just like, "What is Netflix?" Because this is all in the '80s,
Yeah.
and she's just like, "So, if somebody's watching you on TV, don't you think that there'd be a little more like action or something? Wouldn't you want a little more action?"
That part is so bonkers. But
Yeah.
That's the part that lost me. Where
Really?
I'm like,
I don't know.
okay.
I thought it
this
was
is
cool.
immersion breaking.
like because it's either yeah or fuck yeah, and so I hit the fuck yeah, and it turns into this completely crazy, out of sync, like fight sequence. Like he like throws coffee onto his therapist, and the therapist like brings out two batons, and they're just like fighting
What?
and whipping each
I gotta
other's ass.
fucking watch that.
Yeah, dude. For real.
And then his dad comes in from outside, and he's just like trying to fight him too, and he like grabs him or whatever.
Me and fucking Netflix are gonna fuck you
Yeah,
up.
yeah, he's just like, "Yeah, how about that? We fucked you up good proper, me and my friend from the future." And then it goes back to restart because it's just an ending.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's,
Like,
it's worth a
great.
watch. It's
That
worth a
is-
watch
That's
for sure.
way cool.
yeah. So, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is an American television comedy series created by Joel Hodgson and produced by Alterniversal Products LLC. The show premiered on KTMA, now WUCW, in Minneapolis, Minnesota on November 24th, 1988. It later aired on the Comedy Channel / Comedy Central for 7 seasons until its cancellation in 1996. Thereafter, it was picked up by the Sci-Fi Channel and aired for 3 seasons until another cancellation in August of 1999. A 60-episode syndication package titled The Mystery Science Theater Hour was produced in 95. In 2015, Hodgson led a crowd-funded revival of the series with 14 episodes in its 11th season. First released on Netflix on April 14th, 2017, with another 6-episode season following on November 22nd, 2018. To date, 217 episodes and a feature film have been produced.
So check this out. You can actually, because I have all the episodes, but I actually deleted some of them because they're just like all the way back to the beginning when it was on the KTMA channel.
Oh wow!
But like the audio quality is so rough, like it's like you don't get anything from them. Like at least what I watched. I mean, maybe there are better copies out there, but that was one of the things they did originally. Was they had this kind of campaign where like people would share the tapes and pass them around and send them to each other.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was just this really amazing thing. But anyway, so and I jumped in when the Comedy Central, back then the Comedy Channel was airing it. So I'm obviously didn't see the
and I
local
came in, like I said, on the Sci-Fi channel, and I was actually, I think I mentioned this like in our group chat, but the TV I got has like the smart channels, and one of them is just a Riff Tracks channel.
Yeah.
And all they do is just play Riff Tracks, like with Mike and can't spacing on their names right now. But
not Trace. No. Was it TV's Frank that does it?
No. It's the robots. One of them is the original Tom. And
let's see what I forget.
But I was finishing up this movie and I was like, okay, now I can go to bed. And then they're like, coming up next, Riff Tracks, the Mystery Science Theater reunion. And I was like, son of a bitch, I gotta watch this now. And they basically were in this theater hall, kind of like they would do it at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But they played little videos and they just did it live. And I was like, God damn it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I saw that channel and I lost my mind. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's a whole channel?
Well, and I remember it going through all these cancellations and then finding it on another channel and going, fuck yeah! I mean, just over and over again. It was so good to find it every time.
The show initially starred Hodgson as Joel Robinson, a janitor trapped against his will by two mad scientists on the satellite of love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
The satellite of love.
that's
All
not the
right.
important
No,
part. It's fine to
It's just a rad name. On the satellite of love, and was forced to watch a series of B movies as part of a scientist's plot to take over the world. To keep his sanity, Joel crafts a number of robot companions, including Tom Servo, Crow T Robot, and Gypsy, to keep him company and help him humorously comment on each movie as it plays, as a process known as riffing. Each 2-hour episode would feature a single movie in its entirety, sometimes with various shorts and educational films, with Joel, Tom, and Crow watching a silhouette from a row of theater seats at the bottom of the screen.
Some of those shorts were like my favorite things. They were amazing.
I love, I know they kind of started it in the Mike Nelson era, but the Invention Exchange.
Yeah, I mean Joel did a lot of those too, but yeah, I love Joel Hodgson, and he's really the person who, like, riffing wasn't a thing before this. It was something, sure, I don't think that with the advent of people being able to watch movies at home, I'm sure that pretty much started right off the bat, like, in homes, but like no one had even thought of putting this out and trying to, make a show out of it.
Right, because that's just shit you do with your friends at
yeah,
home.
yeah. Like it's
Kind of brilliant once you think about it.
Oh yeah. But like Joel is brilliant, but Mike, that dude has got an amazing comedic mind.
Dude,
like,
I
amazing.
love Mike, and he might be, like, I don't know, maybe now that Jonah is on the show, I think Mike still might be my favorite. Mike, then Jonah, and then Joel, just in, like, the order that I've seen them. Like, because a lot of Mystery Science Theater that I've seen, a a lot of it has been Mike. I have seen like some of the early Joel episodes, but yeah, I fucking love Mike. Like, he's so great.
Yeah, and Mike was also the one who was hosting, or I mean the main guy anyway, when they did the Mystery Science Theater movie, and you need to watch that.
Okay.
Like I've got it. I've got
Okay.
every episode
Okay.
there is, and I actually like started separating things because like it goes. I have a bunch of folders where it's just season by season, but then I've made a new folder for my favorites, and I just keep like throwing things in there.
Yeah.
the movie I've got in a separate folder,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
dude, it's fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
Oh.
But I mean, Mike is just, and I don't know that when he jumped on board, but I mean, he had been writing long before he took over as the main character,
Okay.
and he's just amazingly
Right on.
brilliant. These scenes were framed with interstitial sketches. The show's cast changed over its duration. Most notably, the character of Joel was replaced by Mike Nelson in the show's 5th season.
That answers your question.
Well, no, I just don't remember when he got on board with the company to begin with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like as writer and all that.
Gotcha.
And I don't know, personally, I would say an even bigger change was the change from the first Mad Scientist henchman to TV's Frank. I don't know, man. Like, it's all about TV's Frank for me. Like, that original sidekick.
That
It was-
Mad
it was-
Scientist
it-
is great.
It
too.
was his voice. I couldn't do the voice. Like, I couldn't handle it. Like, those old episodes are
Yeah.
rough for me to watch just because that fucking grates at the back of my mind, and I'm just like, no! But anyway, other cast members, most of whom were also writers for the show, include Trace Beaulieu, Josh Weinstein, Jim Mallon, Kevin Murphy, Frank Conniff, Mary Jo Pell, Bill Corbett, Paul Chaplin, and Bridget Jones Nelson. The revival features a primarily new cast, including Jonah Ray as the new human test subject, Jonah Heston, along with Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt as the Mads, and Baron Vaughn, Hampton Yount, and Rebecca Hansen as the Bots.
MST3K's original run did not garner high viewership numbers, but the show's popularity through word of mouth over the internet from its fans known as MSTs, or Misties, I guess.
Yeah,
Frequent repeats and syndication, and home media offerings produced by Rhino Entertainment and currently Shout Factory, who along with Hodgson now own the rights to the show and supported the revived series. MST3K was listed as one of Time Magazine's top 100 best TV shows of all time in 2007, and TV Guide has noted MST3K as one of the top cult television shows. The show won a Peabody Award in 1993 and was also nominated for 2 Emmy Awards in 1994 and 1995, and for the Cable Ace Award from 1992 to 1997.
By the way, the whole circulate the tapes movement, they were totally on board with. Like, if I remember right, and I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly, but there were several times where I've heard Joel say, "Keep circulating the tapes."
Welcome,
Like, I mean, they were
welcome to
you
your
know,
tape.
they were all about it. By the way, do you remember on cassette tapes, like plugging up or covering the holes that they would snap those little tabs out so you couldn't record over them?
Yep.
Like, I was talking about it to this person at work, and they were like, "What?" Like, they had no idea. Like,
what are
like you're
cassette
so fresh and so young.
Right.
You're like a brand new thing.
I saw a video of a dad who gives his kids a cassette tape, and he's just like, "Here, you listen to music on it." And the kids are like holding the cassette tape to their ear.
Jesus.
And then they're like, "Where do you put the headphones?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Wait, how do you do this?" Like, and he was there for like a good 10 minutes while they're just sitting there trying to figure it out.
God,
I
dude.
saw another video like that where I don't know if they gave it to the daughter, but they had it and they were like, "Yeah, here, play with this," and it was an original Game Boy Color, and they're like trying to like touch the screen.
You cherish that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
While the cast of Mystery Science Theater has changed throughout its history, the premise of the show remains relatively unchanged. A human test subject, first Joel Robinson, then Mike Nelson, and most recently Jonah Heston, has been imprisoned aboard the spacecraft Satellite of Love by mad scientists and their henchmen, collectively called the Mads, and is forced to watch a series of bad movies in order to find one that will drive the test subject insane.
Show sounds pretty good.
I think I'll watch this one day.
To keep his sanity, Joel built himself a series of sentient robots called the Bots from parts aboard the satellite, who subsequently remain aboard with the other test subjects. The Bots include Tom Servo, Crow, T-Robot, there you go, Gypsy, who's in charge of running the satellite's operations, and Cambot, the silent recorder of the experiments. Crow and Servo join the human as they watch the film in the satellite's theater, and to keep from going mad, the trio frequently comment and wisecrack atop of it, a process known as riffing. So it's pretty much just like watching a really bad movie.
And talking shit the whole
Just
time.
talking
making
shit
fun of it,
about
yeah.
Okay. At regular intervals throughout the movie, the hosts leave the theater and return to the bridge of the satellite to perform sketches, or host segments that satirize the film being watched.
So the interesting thing about that, because I've watched interviews with Joel and things like that, and the whole concept, like for doing the sketches, the whole reason behind it was just sort of as a way to break up the action, just because sitting there watching a whole shitty movie, even with them making fun of it, like you're gonna want a palate cleanser every now and then, a little like change of scenery, just to not get have that kind of become mundane and awful. So like he was like, I really didn't want people to be sitting there watching a movie all the way straight through with us. So that was the whole reason that he started doing the sketch thing.
Right on.
But anywho, the general format of an MST3K episode has remained the same throughout the series run. Episodes are approximately 90 minutes in running time, excluding commercial breaks, and begin with a short introductory segment in which the human host and the bots interact with the Mads before being sent the movie. During Joel Hodgson and Jonah Ray's tenures as host, and for a brief period at the start of the Mike Nelson era, the hosts and the Mads engage in an invention exchange, in which they each show off their latest inventions, sirens and flashing lights, then signal the characters to enter the theater. We got movie sign!
In the theater, the human host and bots, Tom and Crow, sit in a row of theater seats shown in silhouette along the bottom of the screen and approach Hodgson called Shadowrama. The three then riff on the film, which is sometimes accompanied by one or more shorts as it plays for both of them and the audience. Occasionally, the silhouette format is used as a source of humor as a means of creating unobtrusive censor bars for scenes containing nudity. The show transitions into and out of the theater via a door sequence, a series of 6 doors that open or close as the camera, ostensibly Cambot, passes through them.
At regular intervals throughout the episode, the characters leave the theater and perform sketches usually inspired by the events of the film or short being shown, frequently making use of original songs and prop comedy. Some sketches bring in new or recurring characters or other devices. The host would consult an external camera, Rocket Number 9, to show events happening outside the satellite, and the hex field view screen would be used to communicate with other characters from the ship's bridge. At the end of each sketch, movie sign is triggered again, and the characters must re-enter the theater.
And that's another thing too. Like, Mike, before becoming the host, was like he was on screen many times as one of these sometimes recurring, sometimes just one-off characters, and he was always amazing.
Yeah.
He did James Lipton once, which is fucking hilarious. So amazing. But yeah, and that's one thing. That is one of the things that I really miss about the original series is the two characters that always accompanied Pearl. I mean, Bobo and Brain Guy.
Yes.
Like they were the best. And by the way, they were also the robots.
Okay.
They were Crow and Tom.
Oh, that's cool.
Right on.
I was going to mention, it'll probably we'll probably mention this a little bit later, but I love how they still use the actress that played Pearl in the new season.
Well,
She's just the clone.
And Bill Corbett the Bobo? I think Bill Corbett was Bobo. Anyway, Bill Corbett also comes back. But it's really kind of weird and jarring because in the old series, his ape suit was really awesome. Mm-hmm. And in the new series, it's still a decent suit, but it kind of has this jaundiced yellowish tinge to it, and it looks really kind of oh my god, what happened?
Times were tough.
I bet it's
Bobo.
the same suit and it just sat in a box somewhere.
Jesus. What's his face had it in a box just in his closet, right?
It's fucked up.
Is it cold?
Isn't it you?
No, I just finished.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
it's
you?
cold.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
is. During Hodgson's period on the show,
Was it just one, or was it his first period, or did
as soon as period
did he have
came out
all
of
of
my
his
mouth,
periods on the show?
I was like, ew,
You really emphasized
that
this
was
shit.
dirty. That felt dirty.
Hodgson's period. Period. See,
oh.
And he just looks at the camera. Guys, I got my first period.
We have period sign. We have period sign.
Balloons and streamers are everywhere.
period sign.
Red balloons and red streamers.
Exactly. He just has a period party.
God, freezing.
And then he has to explain to Crow and Servo what a period is.
The whole
Yeah.
episode right
It
there.
is.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever did one of those PSA sort of episodes like everybody was doing,
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell and all that.
I don't think
should've
they
done
ever
that.
did one of those period episodes.
I could be mistaken, but I don't think that happened.
Oh my god. Did you guys see? It was wrestling. It was a piece of wrestling news. One of the women from the Mae Young Classic.
Yes.
She.
Oh my god.
She was fighting in the Indies, and
Oh no.
and she goes, "You want a taste of the tuna?"
No.
And she reaches into her fucking
No.
thing and pulls out a tampon and shoves it in old girl's face. Yeah, and it was Deanna Purrazzo and somebody else. But I was just like, oh damn! And everybody in the arena was like, "You sick fuck!
I
You
hope
sick
that
fuck!"
was scripted,
I
because
really
otherwise
hope.
she is not getting a job anywhere.
Yeah, dude, that was fucking gnarly.
Oh my
And if it
God.
was scripted, I really hope she just had that in there. and it
Yeah.
was
Oh
just-
no. She
yeah.
if it was scripted, she just had it
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Are we done talking about periods?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The period tangent is done.
Okay. Just making sure.
I'm totally fucking doing
Yeah.
Period is over.
During Hodgson's period on the show, the final sketch aboard the satellite often included a reading of fan mail from the MST3K fan club. All right.
Good job.
We're good. Thank you. Where's my cookie, motherfucker? Fan mail readings decreased during Mike Nelson's tenure as host and were dropped entirely from the show once the show moved on to the Sci-Fi Channel. Okay. The final sketch of an episode typically ends on the Mads, with the leading Mad asking their lackey to push the button to end the transmission and transitioning to the credit sequence. After the credits, a humorous short clip from the presented film is replayed as a stinger to end the episode.
Which I always loved that. Just that little 10 seconds of one of the fun parts of the movie. That was always nice.
Okay. So it's pretty clear that they're making fun of the movies, but they kind of like them though. At
Oh
the
yeah.
Same time.
No, there's one that
They're
there's one
absolutely
that they hate.
terrible.
They're
They're
really-
bad movies.
Really?
I wouldn't watch these movies on my own.
Really.
Yeah, if these movies showed up on a Netflix, I would never.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's this one particular episode that is just 100% by everybody involved with the show,
Oh,
as well as every fan that's ever seen the said episode.
widely disliked.
That is just it's regarded as the worst episode ever,
Really.
and it's
And it's all just
Manos?
because of the movie.
Yeah. So it's called Manos: The Hands of Fate. and
Okay.
there are just some really weird things going on.
Yeah.
I
And
gotta say, that's one of my favorite episodes.
it's an
though.
amazing episode. There is actually a point in the episode, and it looks like it's just, part of the
Yeah.
script, but there is a part where I think it is TV's Frank, if I'm not mistaken, where he just looks at the camera and goes, "I am sorry. I am so sorry about this." And I saw an interview later where he was like, "No, I was legitimately saying sorry because that is the worst movie we have ever shown. We really felt bad about that one."
What
Like,
was
it was so funny.
what was the the one weird helper guy's name in that movie?
Oh,
Like Torg or something like that.
Torg was a different one.
What was the name of the movie again?
Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Manos.
Which is weird because Manus is Latin for hands, so it's basically hands, the hands of fate.
Oh God.
Yeah. Manos in Spanish means hands.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, it's God, what is his name?
I can't think of
It's,
it. right
Seven.
now.
I mean, it's close to that name.
Yeah.
But I thought it was 2 syllables.
It's got a 7%.
Because they
It is
show
really bad.
on that Rift Tracks channel, like they'll just while they're starting up a new movie or whatever, they'll show clips that they've riffed on, and on Rift Tracks, they're not sitting in the theater, they're just off to the side, and they will show the clip from Manos Hands of Fate where he's staring at the chick through the window, and I'm like, I just saw this last night and I can't think of his name, but whenever they riffed on him, that was my favorite part.
So that's actually another one of the, because in later, I think it's the same season, but later on in a later episode anyway, Mike actually does a walk-on character of that guy. Of that.
Torgo.
Torgo. Okay, yeah. that's
I
right.
just had to look it up.
There is one in a different movie actually just called Torg, but he's like this big hulking dude. But that movie, I mean, first of all, it's just really weird. It's off-putting.
There's the Blu-ray release, so I know what to get you for your birthday.
It's just a really, and at the end of it, the bad guy Manos, so it's this family of 3, a dad, a wife, and a daughter, a husband, a wife, and a daughter, I suppose, and they are the ones who encounter Manos, and in the end, I think the husband is killed, and Manos takes the wife and daughter as brides, and the daughter's 5.
That sounds like an excellent show to get really, really, really fucking baked to.
It is creepy as fuck and just disgusting.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why they were so apologetic about ripping that movie. But
at least they know though.
oh yeah. But I don't know, my favorite was either Werewolf or
Werewolf was such a good one.
So good. Oh, I love Teenagers from Outer Space.
My favorite
one's
scene
amazing.
from the Werewolf one is where the guy and the girl are in the car, at make out point or whatever, and the werewolf is coming up to him, and she screams in the movie, she's like, "Oh my God, who's that?" And then one of them just goes, "It's my dad."
There's that one is so funny because everybody in this movie is foreign, but you can't ever tell where it is that they're from.
Yeah.
Their accents kind of change through part of it, and it's really weird. So the main female in the movie, so she's trying to tell this guy that she's worried about him, and she's afraid for his well-being, but she muddles her words so much. She goes, "I'm worried about your wallaby," and he goes, "Well, my wallaby is very important to me, so I thank you." But it's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Which one was the one that you showed me?
I think I showed you that one.
You think?
But
There's a bunch of people in a big white mansion. I don't remember the name of it.
oh, where and a loud whispering breaks out. That one? Yeah, it is. It's the same one. It's the same one.
I think my favorite one from the early years has got to be Manos, but for the later ones, I think my favorite 2 are Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, the first and second one. I loved those ones. And then I came across one on that was Riff Tracks, where I can't remember what it was called, but it was this kid who basically learns kung fu from the ghost of Bruce Lee.
Oh.
But the thing is, like, it's I swear it's not Bruce Lee, like, in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
That's hilarious.
And it shows him, like, training, and his friend that hangs around him is, like, looking through the window, and to him, he's training with Bruce Lee, but when the kid looks through the window, he's just, like, talking to himself.
So, did you say that Netflix has the rights to all the older episodes too, or is it just?
So that's not really how they do it. What they do, and they change it every now and then. But they've got the new seasons, right? The new version, if you will, and then they have a collection of the old ones, and so they'll have like I think it's between 6 and 8 of them on there at any given time. Episodes.
Okay.
And then they'll like
It's
6
like
months
it's
or a
like
year
a
down the
collection
road,
that they
they'll
have.
cycle out those ones and throw in some new ones.
Why do they do it like that? That's weird.
By the way, the set that's on there right now,
Yeah.
another one of my all-time favorites is Space Mutiny.
Yes.
And that is on there right now.
Okay.
So you need to watch Space Mutiny. It is fucking
I'm
phenomenal.
gonna watch them tonight at work, man.
Phenomenal.
Or one of the newer ones, I think it is Atlantic Rim. You gotta watch that one. Is this the horn?
Sounds romantic.
Get him on the horn!
It's a ripoff of Pacific Rim, like in
no.
every
somebody
sense
made
of the word.
and they so did it on the nose that they called it Atlantic.
Yeah, it was
Like
what
it
other
was-
ocean can we use?
Yeah. Well, we've got our choice of Atlantic, Indian. What else? There's.
Yeah.
I don't even. I
Gulf
can't-
of Mexico Rim. The Bering Strait Rim.
Are we witnessing someone getting got on the horn? That one's my favorite of the new ones. That one's my favorite, and Mac and Me.
Oh, Mac and Me is fantastic.
Mac and Me was my favorite just because I remember watching that as its own original thing.
That's what
you know?
Yessie was saying too.
Yeah, yes, he loves
Oh
Mac
yeah.
and Me. That's like
and
one
now
of her
I'm
favorite
watching
movies.
it going, God, this is creepy as fuck.
Hey girl.
Hey, girl. Yeah.
Dude, I laughed so hard
I mean,
and rewound that so many times and even like recorded it on a Snapchat and saved it.
Yeah,
like,
dude. I still like it's like I said this. I think it was a couple episodes back. But my favorite part of the Mac and Me one is they're at this like checkpoint, and there's a dude in like an old red Datsun, right?
Mhm.
It's nice and shiny, right?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "There you go, Mr. Seinfeld. Have fun having coffee with your comedian friend." They look at
See, I just love when they're at the convenience store when Mac is in the back of that van and the chick pulls up in that car next to him and he's looking out the window at her, she looks at him and she's like acting completely normal about this and she's just sitting there drinking her soda, and the point where it actually gets weird for her is when Mac reaches his arm out and steals the soda. And I'm like, bitch, you're staring at a fucking wrinkly ball sack of an alien, and you're fine with that.
Yeah.
like it's after where he goes.
But he steals your soda, and that's the point where you're like, I should be alarmed.
Because even at that part where he pokes out and it's like, "Hey girl," like she kind of like
The alien says,
flirtatiously,
"Hey, girl."
well,
Yeah.
he riffs it,
Like,
and then
more
she's
than
like,
okay with it.
"Oh, hi," and then
Yeah,
what
it's
what does Jonah say? He's like, "Man, girls back then looked really sleepy or something, or like looked really tired."
I mean, I do have to say I'm kind of one as far as MST3K goes. I'm a little bit of a neckbeard, you know, as far as going.
Stop fucking saying that.
No, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
And neckbeard is
My
your
lady.
idea of someone, yeah.
Tips fedora.
Slit your throat neck.
No, but like I'm a little bit like I'm not against the new version of it. I do love it, but like I definitely enjoy the old version way more.
Yeah.
Like it, you know, understandably so. It seems like
The thing,
the new version is trying as hard as they can to measure up to the old version, And so
It's the same thing with Evangelion. Yeah,
like
I
some
totally
of the
understand
jokes
where
and
you're
everything
coming
seem a little forced, little, but it's really good,
from. Yeah.
but
My-
it just seems so natural.
The thing that
You'd
I
rather
with
have
the old
this.
version.
I liked about the new one though is because I was like, okay, yeah, this is getting crowdfunded. I'm hyped, but sometimes new things like sketch me out, and I was super worried about this, and then they released the first new season, and I loved how barely, save for like the robot voices are different, but I got used to that.
Sure.
But like everything just kind of remained in like that same niche. Like it was just the same all around, basically just with new characters. And I was like, they didn't change like hardly anything.
And I love that they kept the whole homemade looking aspect of everything. Like
Yeah, they didn't like CGI anything.
they didn't go like crazy with costumes. All the costumes are homemade as fuck. How homemade are they? I made one myself.
Yeah.
That's how homemade they are. I don't know shit about making anything.
Yeah.
And I made a legit fucking costume with, painting help from Anthony Stockseth. Thank you very
I'll
much.
say that the second that the like new version of the theme song started playing, I was like, oh my god, like, yeah, I was glad that they like redid that because I loved that that whole like and then in the beginning when you can see like the god damn it, what are they called, the henchmen now?
Oh, the Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, when you're seeing them like play the theme song and the guy's like singing, I was like, oh my god, they have like a band doing this now.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And like for that opening sequence where like all the ships are totally model, like it's fucking great. Like it's so obviously like
A diorama,
intentionally homemade.
And they still kept like whenever they suck somebody up through the tube, they still have that same effect of just like you can tell that it was like they didn't even try to make it look like it was actually happening.
Yeah.
But Hodgson had approached Jim Mallon, at the time the production manager of KTMA, a low-budget local television station, with his idea of a show based on riffing movies using robots that were created out of common objects. Mallon agreed to help produce a pilot episode, and Hodgson hired on local area comedians J. Elvis Weinstein, initially going by Josh Weinstein, but later changed to J. Elvis to distinguish himself from Josh Weinstein, a well-known writer for The Simpsons. That was a long parentheses. And Trace Beaulieu to develop the pilot show. By September of '88, Hodgson, Mallon, Weinstein, and Beaulieu shot a 30-minute pilot episode using segments from the 1968 sci-fi film The Green Slime. The robots and the set were built by Hodgson in an all-nighter. Joel watched the movie by himself and was aided during the host segments with his robots, Crow, Beaulieu, Beeper, and Gypsy, voiced by Weinstein.
That's a bad last name to have.
Yep.
Mallon met with KTMA station manager Donald O'Connor the next month and managed to get signed up for 13 episodes. Show production was generally done on a 24-hour cycle, starting with Mallon offering a few films from KTMA's library for the writers to select from. Riffing in these episodes was ad-libbed during the taping using notes made during preliminary viewings of the selected film. The show had some slight alterations from the pilot. The set was lit differently. The robots, now Crow, Servo, and Gypsy, joined Joel in theater, and a new doorway countdown sequence between the host and theater segments was shot.
Mystery Science Theater 3000 premiered on KTMA at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, 1988, with its first episode, Invaders from the Deep, followed by a second episode, Revenge of the Mysterons from Mars, at 8 p.m. The choice of running the premiere on Thanksgiving was by happenstance, as the station felt the show was ready to go at that point, according to Hodgson. Initially, the show's response was unknown until Mallon set up a phone line for viewers to call in. The response was so great that the initial run of 13 episodes is extended to 21, with the show running to May of 1989.
I just realized that premiered on Thanksgiving Day, and so did the new season this last year.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why they make such a big deal out of Turkey Day, which, by the way, is an awesome thing. what they used to do when the show was on was they would have a Turkey Day marathon
Okay.
where it would just be back-to-back episodes of the show all day.
That's
And
pretty rad.
yeah, and it was really cool. It's kind of like the Gauntlet, which is the kind of the sort of second season. I think it was kind of a new take on that
Okay.
because it was released for the holidays and all that kind of
yeah.
thing. So I think it's like their version of making that kind of their own.
Okay.
But so what the Gauntlet was the Jonah and the bots had to, quote unquote, sit through a whole, like, what was it? How many episodes was it? I forget. Like 8 or something, 13, I don't remember. A bunch of episodes back to back to back where they were just sitting there watching movies back to back.
Right on.
And so they did that as separate episodes.
Okay.
So that was kind of like their take on a Turkey Day marathon. But they do, like, they've done Turkey Day marathons online every year. Like I
kidding.
watched the one last year,
Okay.
and yeah, it's really really great.
So does your dad still watch this too?
Mhm.
Right
Yeah.
on.
And last Comic-Con they were here, or the one before?
No,
I
it
think
was
the
one before.
Yeah, that's right. Joel Hodgson was here. Trace was here. And then who was it? Was it? Oh, Bill Corbett.
Okay.
Who was the brain guy.
Oh, and then because I went to we went to their panel.
Mhm.
You ran to meet him, and I was doing something else, Derek. But we went to their panel, and the guy that was running around taking the mic to people, I recognized him. I don't know if any of you guys remember a show on
Oh,
Comedy
yeah.
Central called The Naked Trucker and T-Bone Show.
No.
Do you remember
I've
that?
heard of it, yeah.
What's his name? Champ from Anchorman
Mm-hmm.
was on it, and it was like a comedy sketch show. And the dude that was running around the mic with the microphone was the other character from that show.
Oh, okay.
And he's been like a character actor on other TV shows, and I was like, that guy looks familiar. And then he'd like have his little quip after the question, and I was like, that's totally that guy.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Well, and so, I went over there and I got I got a couple different of their autographs, and so I got one of the autographs of Joel himself I got one for me and I got one for my dad.
Uh-huh.
And my dad, it's so funny because my dad's from Iowa. He's not like he's not much of one to show emotion
Yeah.
or really ever get like
He's a dad.
visibly excited about
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So I give him this autograph. And he's like, "Oh, well, that's cool." Like,
That was not what I was expecting.
I was
expecting him to like weep.
bro, this is our thing.
This
This
is
is
the
our
dream.
thing. Like, you're always on me, like, about, like, we don't talk, you don't come over. I do this thing, and you're like, oh, all right. But, like, he, like...
We want you to come over more, Derek, you fuck.
We've talked about it, like, since then. He's like, that's, so he's,
Yeah.
obviously it was
I know the
something
feeling.
nice for him and everything. I was like, okay, good. I'm glad that I now understand that you appreciated it.
Yeah.
Like, it was really funny.
I
So-
know the feeling.
This is completely off topic in
Okay.
every sense of the word, but have you guys heard of Poppy?
Yes.
Did you know
No.
that she's doing NXT TakeOver?
What?
Yeah.
What? Wait, whoa, what? The blonde chick?
Yeah.
Who's Poppy?
She's just some weird girl that, like, stares into the camera.
And does like, hi, my name is Poppy.
I love this man. It's just
So
really creepy.
it's
and weird.
very-
The
It's
NXT
okay.
loud theme for the upcoming TakeOver is X by Poppy. That's like her
I mean,
song or
I
whatever.
get that back in the day, WWE found massive success teaming up with celebrities. Like, I mean, even way back in the day, like with Mr. T,
That's so
Cyndi
funny.
Lauper, all that kind of stuff. And, even to a smaller extent, now, like with What's His Bucket from Arrow,
Stephen
Seth
Amell.
Green,
Yeah.
Let's
like,
just-
that
let's
kind
ha-
of thing.
let's
But,
have a-
but what about, what the fuck is, what?
Let's have a listen to her promo.
Is this their attempt at gaining that back? Because that's not...
I'm Poppy, WWE. Gimme bloody. NXT loud. Ooh. Hashtag NXT loud. WWE.
Wow.
I'm Poppy.
What the
Riveting.
fuck?
Riveting.
Yeah.
Okay then.
And that's for the Rumble? That's for the takeover before Rumble?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the theme is X, and I guess that's like a song that she did. I haven't heard the song, but I can't imagine it's not weird.
All right.
Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Hodgson and Mallon negotiated to secure the rights for the show for themselves, creating Best Brains Inc., agreeing to split ownership of the idea equally. Despite the show's success, the station's overall declining fortunes forced it to file for bankruptcy reorganization in July 1989. At the same time, HBO was looking to build a stable of shows for their upcoming Comedy Channel cable network. HBO approached Best Brains and requested a sample of their material. Hodgson and Mallon provided a 7-minute demo reel, which led to the network greenlighting MST3K as one of the first 2 shows picked up by the network.
The Comedy Channel offered Best Brains $35,000 per episode, but allowed Best Brains to retain the show's rights. Best Brains was also able to keep production local to Minnesota instead of the network's desire to film in New York City or LA, as it would have cost 4 times more per episode, according to Hodgson. Best Brains established an office and warehouse space in Eden Prairie for filming. With an expanded but still limited budget, they were able to hire more writers, including Mike Nelson, Mary Jo Pell, and Frank Conniff, and build more expansive sets and robot puppets. They created the characters of Dr. Forrester and Dr. Earhart, and crafted the larger narrative of each episode being an experiment they test on Joel. The show began its national run shortly after the Comedy Channel went on the air in November 1989.
By the way, the whole idea of them riffing the specific type of movies that they did, because I mean they were just wanting to riff movies, but the whole reason that it was these shitty old B movies is because they were the cheapest to get the rights for.
Oh, yeah.
It was either that,
There was
or they just don't have copyrights anymore. isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's whatever was just free or cheap.
Yeah.
Like in some instances, it was just what the studio had in their library.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean that's when you're on a budget.
Yeah. MST3K was considered Comedy Channel's signature program, generating positive press about the show despite the limited availability of the cable channel nationwide. After the second season, the Comedy Channel and rival comedy cable network Ha merged to become Comedy Central. During this period, MST3K became the newly merged cable channel's signature series, expanding from 13 to 24 episodes a year. To take advantage of the show's status, Comedy Central ran Turkey Day, a 30-hour marathon of MST3K's episodes during Thanksgiving 1991. The name of the event was not only inspired by the traditional turkey meal served on Thanksgiving, but also by the use of turkey from the Golden Turkey Awards to represent bad movies.
Right on. Makes sense.
Right on, right on, right on.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
This tradition would be continued through the rest of the Comedy Central era. Though the show did not draw large audience numbers compared to the other programming on Comedy Central, such as reruns of Saturday Night Live, the dedicated fans and attention kept the show on the network. Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, was produced during the later half of the Comedy Central era and had a very limited theatrical release in 1996 through Universal Pictures and Gramercy Pictures. It featured Mike and the Bots subjected to the film This Island Earth by Dr. Forrester. Dr. Forrester. What do you think he studied?
Forests.
It could be.
How to make forests Forrester?
But that's just boring though. Like, what if he's a I don't know.
I'm gonna say psychology, just because the whole point of this experiment is to drive someone crazy, so that he can then take over the world by making people crazy. And so he seems like he would have some sort of a psychology
Makes sense,
background, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Dr. Forrester.
Though well received by critics and fans, the film was a financial disappointment due to its limited distribution. By the show's 6th season in 1996, Comedy Central had started creating an identity for its network under the new leadership of Doug Herzog, which would lead to successful shows like The Daily Show, Win Ben Stein's Money, which was so great.
Yes.
I loved that
Oh,
show,
dude, that was so good.
and South Park. leaving MST3K as an oddity on the network, taking up limited program space. Herzog, though stating that MST3K helped put the network on the map and that its fans were passionate, believed it was necessary to change things around due to the show's declining and lackluster ratings. The network canceled MST3K after a six-episode 7th season.
So they got a lot done before.
Yeah.
Because this, I'm gonna guess that this is the. Oh no. Okay, so the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's still a good couple.
It's kind of like the show that wouldn't die.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I think
Dedicated
that
fans brought it back up.
I think that if you don't know what it is, it's very easy to skip through it channel surfing because you just see some old ass movie on TV.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, if you're not familiar with what it is, you're not gonna pay
You're not
any
gonna watch
attention
it.
to it. So I feel like that probably has something to do with the ratings.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, that would be really bad.
Yeah.
Because you're like, fuck this. Why would I watch this?
Exactly.
All right, and then this is where like I mentioned, I started watching the show during the Sci-Fi Channel era. The show staff continued to operate for as long as they still had finances to work with. MST3K's fan base staged a write-in campaign to keep the show alive. This effort led the Sci-Fi Channel, a subsidiary of USA Networks, to pick up the series. Rod Perth, the president of programming for USA Networks at the time, helped to bring the show to the Sci-Fi Channel, stating himself to be a huge fan of the show and believing that the sci-fi genre took itself too seriously and that this show was a great way of lighting up our own presentation.
Lightning.
That's like
up
a
our own
perfect.
presentation.
I feel like the Sci-Fi Channel is like perfect for this show.
Yeah, totally.
That's what like a lot of the movies that they riff on are anyways.
Yeah.
Plus they're, in space.
Well, and I think, I mean, this is, I don't know if this is just me projecting, but like I feel like this show is the reason things like Sharknado came to be.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have
Because there's a lot. There's like it's putting out there the message
Yeah.
that there's a love for these shitty movies, even though they're not like
Yeah.
winning awards or anything
well,
like
and,
that.
and not just that, but like making fun of these shows that took themselves so seriously when they were made.
Yeah.
I think is what eventually led to the shows themselves not taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And it created this group of people that had love for sci-fi, but also, had this ability to make fun of themselves and do things that were campy and outrageous.
Those are honestly some of my favorite types of horror movies are those
Yeah.
B movies. Like my favorite like zombie flick ever is called Dead Alive. And it was made like in the late 80s, I think, and it was directed by Peter Jackson. And it's the goriest zombie movie I've ever seen, but like not in like a Dawn of the Dead sense, like just an over the top, like what the fuck type of movie. And one of my favorite scenes from the movie is the guy's watching his mom. Basically, he takes her to the zoo and she gets bitten by this creature called the Sumatran rat monkey. It bites her and infects her, and that's where the turning starts, but he just thinks that she's sick from the bite, so he's like taking care of her. He calls the priest over to give her a blessing or whatever, and then the priest is walking home through the graveyard, and all these zombies start coming up, and he's just fighting them off with like kung fu. And at one point he
priests
jumps
do.
up on a gravestone all like indignant and just goes, "I kick ass for the Lord."
Yes.
I'm gonna have to check. I'm not.
Did you ever see Zombievers?
Yes.
It was fucking awesome.
I bet it's
dude.
just the, what does that guy say? She's like, I think they need help. He's like, I bet it's just those damn college kids scissoring each other to Lady Gaga. Like, best line in the whole
That
movie.
movie was actually pretty damn scary at
Yeah.
the end when they start turning into beavers. I'm like, good God.
Wow.
Writing and production of the show remained relatively unchanged from the Comedy Central period. Before season 8 commenced filming, Beaulieu opted to leave the show, feeling that anything creative that would be produced by Best Brains would belong to Mallon, and wanted to have more creative ownership himself. To replace Dr. Forrester, 2 new sidekicks to Pearl were introduced, Professor Bobo, Murphy, and the Observer, aka Brain Guy, Corbett. In addition, Corbett took over Crow's voice and puppetry, and Best Brain staffer Patrick Bransteg took over Gypsy in the middle of season 8. With this replacement, the series' entire original cast had been turned over.
MST3K ran for 3 more seasons on the Sci-Fi Channel. During the Sci-Fi era, Best Brains found themselves more limited by the network. The pool of available films was smaller, and they were required to use science fiction films, as per the network's name and programming focus, and the USA Network's executives managing the show wanted to see a story arc and had more demands on how the show should be produced. Conflict between Best Brains and the network executives would eventually lead to the show's second cancellations. Peter Keep News. That's a that's a unique name.
Yeah.
That is.
Definitely should be a journalist, and he is. Peter Keep News, writing for the New York Times, noted that the frequent cast changes, as well as the poorer selection of films that he felt were more boring than bizarre in their executions, had caused the show to lose its original appeal.
Yeah, and that was what was nice about the seasons prior to this was,
Yeah.
you know, they had their invention exchanges, they had their little back and forths and everything, but there didn't need to be any sort of greater story.
Yeah.
Like everything was
that sounds really dumb.
Yeah, everything was just nice and self-contained.
Yeah.
Like it usually kind of related to the episode a little bit. And even if it didn't matter. Who cares? It was just campy and fun, and then you got into the movie, and you know.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
sticking it with these binary rules that
Yeah.
makes it stupid because it's almost kind of the same thing with movies nowadays, where it's like you gotta have a bad guy, you gotta have a good guy, you gotta have another example. You're going for an R-rated movie. It's like, oh, you gotta keep them, you gotta keep adults interested. So you gotta there's like a fucking checklist of all this shit, and it's like, think of everything that's ever been great, and they break the rules somehow. You know what I mean?
Well,
so it's
and
like it doesn't need to have that's. And so when you say that it needed an arc and a narrative and all this shit, and it's like, no, it doesn't, man. No, it doesn't. It doesn't need that at all.
Yeah, and it got to the point where basically they were kind of visiting and then destroying these worlds, and and that was part of this progression, and it was just, I don't know, it was okay, but it was just weird.
Sometimes you just need something dumb to watch. You don't need to be invested, and I totally get what you're saying.
The season 10 finale, Danger Diabolique, premiered on August 8th, 1999, during
You sure
which...
it's not diabolic?
I don't know. I always...
Diabolique.
I like saying it like that. It sounds fancy.
I like
being fancy.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
I'm gonna leave it.
Okay.
So, during which, in the show's narrative, Pearl Forrester sent the satellite of love out of orbit, with Mike and the bots escaping and taking up residence in an apartment near Milwaukee. A Lost episode, produced earlier in the season, but delayed due to its rights issues, Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders, was the final season 10 episode of MST3K, and the last of the original run. Broadcast on September 12, 1999. Reruns continued to air on the Sci-Fi Channel for several years, ending with The Screaming Skull on January 31st, 2004. The shows later moved to off-network syndication.
By the way, I found this out before we started going to Comic-Con, because I was and before they had a good amount of the shows on Netflix, their YouTube channel, you can actually watch the episodes that they do, and you can watch ones where they will, if they make a joke, then it's like a pop-up video, a little thing will come up and will be like, this is where this comes from, and it will tell you what the reference is from.
That's good to mention.
Yeah,
no, because those are really fun to watch, because I mean, I don't care how well versed in pop culture you are, there are definitely going to be some references that you aren't going to get, period. And so it's really nice. I've watched those several times, because that's really cool. I forgot all about
even in the Jonah episodes, they'll make a joke and I'll be like, huh? I don't understand that too well. Speaking of which, starting in 2010, Hodgson had been trying to bring back MST3K, spurred on by fan appreciation of the cast and crew. 25 years since the show's premiere and the success of his cinematic Titanic project. Hodgson also considered the timing to be ideal, with non-traditional outlets like Netflix picking up original series and the success of crowdfunding for entertainment projects. However, Hodgson needed to reacquire the rights to the series, which were then still held by Malin and Best Brains. By 2013, Hodgson was working closely with Shout Factory, the distribution company handling the home media releases of MST3K, and completed negotiations with Malin to buy the rights for MST3K for a 7-figure sum by August 2015, enabling a Kickstarter campaign to fund the revival to move forward. Hodgson felt the Kickstarter approach was necessary so that the show's style and approach would be determined by fans, rather than through a network if he had sought traditional broadcast funding, as well as to demonstrate the demand for the show through a successful campaign.
Did you donate?
The Kickstarter was launched in November 2015, seeking $2 million for the production of 3 episodes, with stretch goals with additional funding for 12 total episodes. The Kickstarter effort was led by Ivan Asquith, a consultant that also had worked on the Veronica Mars and Reading Rainbow Kickstarter
Those are all these
campaigns.
cool-ass last
Yo,
names.
Reading Rainbow? Fuck yeah.
Hodgson estimated each episode would take $250,000 to make, in addition to 5-figure movie licensing rights, in contrast to $100,000 needed for the original series. The campaign reached its base funding within a week of its launch. On the final day of the campaign, Hodgson and Shout ran a streaming telethon, which included appearances from the newly selected cast and crew, and various celebrities that supported the revival to help exceed the target funding levels for 12 episodes. The campaign ended on December 11th, 2015, with a total funding of $5,764,229 from 48,270 backers, with an additional $600,000 in backer add-ons, which allowed Hodgson to plan 2 more additional episodes, including a Christmas episode, to bring the total season to 14 episodes. The Kickstarter became the largest one for film and video, surpassing the $5.7 million raised for Veronica Mars.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had made that much on it.
Oh
For
yeah.
that, with that little backers, you know.
Oh
what
yeah,
I mean?
dude. It was so cool to watch because Veronica Mars was the bar at that time. Like that was the bar for film and TV. And they just smashed that shit.
Yeah. I always love hearing a good Kickstarter campaign success story. Because, man, the one that I have, in my mind is always the one that Keiji Inafune made for Mighty Number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Keiji Inafune, for the people that don't know, is it's basically the father of Mega Man. And he basically stopped making Mega Man games after, I think, 8 for the PlayStation. And after that, 9 and 10 were made by this little company called Indie Creates, but Inafune had nothing to do with Mega Man for many years, and then all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I want to make a Mega Man thing, a type thing, and he came up with this Mighty Number 9, and it was funded like that, instantly. So, and it came out to be a really fucking horrible game. They still can't even, they're not even. Did it have tiers of fan funding, where you got some kind of, I don't know, some shit
Right.
for a amount of money?
Yeah.
Because I know that with the Mighty Number 9 one, they're still having trouble, to this day, trying to
Get all
those
incentives
incentives out. Yeah. So that's a long-winded way of saying I like hearing success stories on Kickstarter.
Well, and I also contributed to the Super Troopers one, which I loved that, and I was so super excited about it. And it was funny because I had told Eddie this multiple times, but I was like, dude, they should just call it Super Toopers because it's number 2.
Yeah.
And then
Super Poopers.
And then one of the perks that I got was a digital copy of the script with a bunch of annotations and just random notes.
Yeah.
And
see, that shit's rad.
On the front page, they had several working titles. One of them was Super Toopers, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm a genius!"
So
But anyway, it was just really
I
fun.
found the original Kickstarter page for the Mystery Science Theater Kickstart,
Okay.
and I'm trying to read. This is like the package reward. Let's see. What is the experiment numbers? Is that like?
That's just, you know, because they do every movie is a different experiment number.
But like, what are these? Do you know what these correlate to?
No, not
No.
anymore. I think it was.
But so like the base reward, Info Club membership, you get exclusive updates from Joel. You get the episode live stream, the next one up. You get a download of the first one. The next one up, you get 6 classic episodes. One after that, T-shirt and stickers, and then coffee mug and postcards, and then all new episodes download. Your name in the credits is the one of the higher ones. You'll get the
How much is that one?
let's see, it just has the
Well, I
experiment
think
300 plus.
yeah, I think that means
300
it's $300.
bucks?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And then
I
you
guess
get
it's
the all
only
new
one,
episodes.
because like it starts at 10 and then goes to 25 and then.
You get the all new episodes box set is the third one up. Oh my god,
that'd
the
be
second
rad.
one you get VHS tape and mission patches.
Oh shit!
And then the biggest one is you get a poster signed by the cast.
How much is that one?
That's, let's see.
And that's in the 300 plus one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the top.
I guess that's not that bad for a one-time only type deal. Because I have a guy that I support on Patreon, and I started giving him $25 a month, and all that motherfucker does is say my name at the end of every episode, and I'm like, you know what, dude, that's a lot of fucking money just for you to say my name. Okay, it's totally worth it, but
By the way, you guys should support our Patreon.
Yeah.
Patreon.
We'll say your name all day.
give us 50 cents and we'll say it.
I'll scream your name when I'm having sex.
Yeah.
With me.
Yeah.
On screen.
Well, also, we decided that if you do so, you'll get this live episode with no cuts or anything.
Yep.
Because it's great.
All the blemishes.
Great.
Hodgson believed that the revival would need a wholly new cast, considering that the cast had completely turned over in the original series. Comedian Jonah Ray plays Jonah Heston, the new host aboard the Satellite of Love, watching and riffing on the films. Hodgson had met Ray. Hodgson had met Ray while recording an episode of the Nerdist podcast, and felt he would be a good fit. The voices of Crow and Tom Servo are provided by comedians Hampton Yount and Baron Vaughn, respectively, both of whom Ray recommended to Hodgson. Hodgson felt it was important for Ray to have his say on who would play these parts, since it would help Ray be comfortable in the role.
What was that? The role.
Hampton Yount.
It is cool.
Where did they find? I feel like they just pick them based off of their last names. Like,
You got a
you
fucking
got
name. Here we
what,
go.
Hampton Yount and Baron Vaughn. Like, that's the first part of like a cool ass dictator's name.
Right.
See, and I'm glad I get to say this part because Felicia Day
Yeah, I was.
is my nerd hotness.
I stood in line for 2.5 hours to meet her, and it was worth every second.
Dude, I had met her a few times at Comic-Con, and like it's just, you know, like it's so funny because, you know, you've not obsessed, maybe obsessed,
A little.
you know,
A little.
a little obsession going on,
That's all good.
but like
I get
so
it.
then you're like right in front of them and you're just like, oh god,
Well, that's how it is.
be cool.
Like
Hey,
any
yo.
What's up?
What's
any con that I've
poppin'?
gone to, like I get all excited to meet these celebrities, and I'm in line, and I'm like, all right, I've got to like just mention a couple things, and then I get up to him, and I'm just like,
You have hair. Like you sound so
I
stupid.
saw you in a thing.
Well, and when
You're
when
cool.
Nick and I met Lou Ferrigno, oh my god, dude, it was the coolest thing. And he fist bumped us,
Oh,
and his hand, like his fist was fucking as big as my goddamn head, dude. Like it
Just
just
a giant ham
it
hock.
just dwarfed my hand. I mean, not that I'm a big guy
as
anyway.
big as my head, even.
But it was like just like it was surreal. It was like it was
think
not real
The
life.
best
you
was
know?
when we met Danny Glover,
Yeah.
and we got up to his table, and he just was way more black than
He
he
was-
is in movies.
was
Because
so
in
hood.
like Lethal Weapon, he's like, I'm too old for this shit.
He was so hood.
And we get up to him and he's like, "What's going on, baby?" And we're like, "Oh shit, dude! Like, I was not expecting that."
It was so fucking funny.
Because you're like this like silly like older guy that's just like sick of everything on a police force, and then he's like, "What's going on, baby?"
It's
That
so
reminds me
funny.
of the time that we went, all three of us, and I met Steven Yeun.
Oh yeah.
And
That was so funny.
I'm like in line, and I'm like 3 people deep, and I'm noticing that the 3 people in front of me are all just white people, and he's just like, "Oh, good, cool, thank you so much. How do you guys like the show? Who's your favorite character? Oh, me? That's so flattering. Thank you so much." And I'm like, "Hey man, how's it going?" He's like, "What's up, bro? What's up, fam? What's the cracking, dog?" I was like, "Bro, I love your show, man. Like talking the way that I
Yeah.
do." And he's like, "Oh, that's word. That's what's up.
That's word.
That word.
Yeah, he's just like, "All right, that's what's up, man."
That's a few words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Well, like, and when I like the first time I met her, or was I don't remember. Anyway, I still had my long hair, right?
Mhm.
And it was all everywhere like it was. And when I got up to her, she was like, "Wow, your hair is amazing." And I was like,
You have hair too.
It was just, I was just like,
It's not as good as your hair though.
English no good now.
If you want a good reference for Felicia Day, you should look up Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog
If you have not seen that, you really
Or
need
the
to see
Guild,
or the Guild.
or
Okay.
she's on
The Guild is what
Supernatural
really
too.
got her started.
Oh.
So it's so cool. It's this web series.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a mockumentary of
Yeah.
this online gaming guild, and they
Ah.
through all
Super
these,
short episodes
through all
too,
these-
so you can just
yeah
like plow
through all these situations,
Yeah.
they keep having to meet each other out in the real world.
Zebu.
And just
Yeah.
like how uncomfortable everyone is, and just how weird, how
Yeah.
fucking weird everyone
Like
is.
in the
It's
first-
amazing.
In the very first of it, like
Vork is my favorite.
they're talking, and what's his name, Zebu, like ends up at her house and is like trying to stay there.
Yeah.
So fucking funny.
Right on.
And she even did like a few music videos for it because she's a great singer.
Yeah.
And Date My Avatar. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
You need to find that video and
Okay.
watch it. It's so cool. And
Right on.
she's just so fucking hot. Anyway,
Yeah, she's very
yeah.
pretty.
We love you.
We love you. So, to my actual thing here. Felicia Day plays Kinga Forrester, Clayton Forrester's daughter, and one of the Nomads in charge of the experiments, now operating out of a moon base known as Moon 13. Day had been one of the last to be cast, as Hodgson had scripted out the concept for Forrester's daughter while casting Ray and the others. Hodgson had met Day at the 2015 Salt Lake Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Excuse me. It's called FanX.
No, it is
Comic
fucking
Convention.
Comic-Con.
It's
Y'all can go fuck yourselves. San Diego can go fuck themselves. It's Comic-Con.
With Salt Lake San Diego Con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really wish that they had taken that suggestion. They actually reacted to it
Yeah.
online.
Did they?
Yeah, like, because I said it on their page. I was like, you know what? Fuck San Diego. We should just call it Salt Lake San Diego Con. They can't do anything about that. And I forget if it was Dan or
Brian.
I think it was Dan. Actually had liked the comment.
Yeah.
So fucking funny. So anywho, so Hodgson had seen Day's performances in shows like The Guild and Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog and felt she matched his idea for the character he had envisioned. Patton Oswalt, who is amazing as well, plays Kinga's henchman, Max, or as his character prefers to be known, TV's son of TV's Frank. Hodgson had already planned to invite Oswalt, a longtime friend and self-professed MST3K fan, as a special guest writer for an episode of the revised series, but decided during the Kickstarter that he would also be a good fit on camera. Rebecca Hansen, an alum of the Second City, took the role as Gypsy as well as Cynthia, a clone of Pearl
Yes.
Forrester that assists Kinga. Harmar Superstar leads the Skeleton Crew, a house band in Kinga's lair. And I really like what they did with the song. Like, the only thing kind of is weird to me is when he says in a yellow jumpsuit. I don't like that. Like, I don't know why he didn't just say a gold jumpsuit, because it would have fit the meter better, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's nitpicky.
Pat
A little bit.
What?
What we got?
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
You can't send shit like that when we're recording. God.
Who said it?
Angela.
Nicole's fiance, everyone.
Which, by the way, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's nerd news.
We haven't said that.
That
We
is
haven't
nerd
said that
news.
yet.
Thank you guys.
Cole and
Thank you.
Angela are financed.
It's yeah.
Finance.
It's been a long time.
Fianced.
They're fianced.
Fianced.
Betrothed.
They also are financed.
Kind of.
They're on loan.
Pal Corbett and Murphy's cameo on the revival, reprising their roles as Pearl, Brain Guy, and Professor Bobo, respectively. Hodgson opened up to the show or aided in the creative process. However, Nelson and Beaulieu stated that they would not be involved with the MST3K revival. Nelson said, "The brand does not belong to me, and I make and have made almost $0 off it since it stopped production in '99. Conniff noted on his Twitter that Shout Factory would be cutting the former cast members in, financially at least, on the profits from the series. In addition, other cameos on the new episodes include Neil Patrick Harris, Jerry Seinfeld, and Mark Hamill."
Mhm.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld is on there?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, they're old friends. Old friends. Joel and him.
Weinstein initially expressed
Espresso.
Weinstein initially expressed disinterest in returning to the show, but eventually reprised his role as Dr. Lawrence Earhart. I had to scroll down. Dr. Lawrence Earhart in the second season of the Netflix revival. End.
That's too great.
So that concludes our episode on Mystery Science Theater 3000. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. I am sad that I didn't grow up with this, because this is just so funny and so pure in its
Yeah,
comedic
it sounds
element.
really cool.
We should put our picks of just our favorite episodes that we think people should watch on the page.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We'll definitely.
Well, me and you, Derek, kind of already went over ours, so.
I mean, there are so many more though.
Well, yeah, but the ones
Yeah.
that I mentioned were my top ones, and then also that's a wrap on our first live
Yeah.
broadcast.
Yeah, if you want to see the live broadcast uncut with no editing whatsoever, go to patreon.com/nerdcourtpodcast, become one of our $10 a month subscribers, and you'll be able to see this bonus content.
And since we're on my channel streaming, I just wanted to say, if anybody's still watching, I haven't seen the viewer count, but if you are, thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob.
As always, you can follow us on social media.
On Facebook at the Nerd Corporation, a podcast.
On Twitter and Instagram at Nerdcourt Podcast.
Or you can email us at nerdcourtpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you're looking to enter the satellite of love and riff on movies with us, subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdcorepodcast. Several tiers of loot to have access to, including t-shirts, stickers, and other loot, to secret episodes and bonus content. So, for the Nerd Corporation, my name is Eddie Lyon.
I'm Cole.
You sound very sad about that. I'm Derek.
Some days.
I'm Cole.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Nick.
Laters on them, NJ.
What the fuck?
See you later, Mama.
Jobin.
We'll see you then, or I'll see you on another time.